What is the best exercise for you to do in order to remain young? A lot of people, especially those who've never exercised before, often ask me, what is the best exercise for them in order to remain young? And my answer is always the same. The best exercise for you is the one that you will do. Now, people often give me a lot of reasons why they can't exercise, and the top 3 reasons are: number 1, they don't have the time; number 2, they don't want to go to the gym; and number 3, they don't know what to do. Well, in today's video, I'm going to address all of these 3 issues by giving you a set of exercises that will remove any excuse you might have not to exercise. Number 1, the exercises will take 12 minutes a day at most max. Number 2, you don't need any equipment, so you don't need to go to any gym. And number 3, I'm going to show you exactly what to do from start to finish so that there will be no guesswork as to what you can and cannot do. Stick with me until the end of the video and find out. Now, before we move on to these set of exercises, I want to talk to you about something called insulin sensitivity. So, people often ask me, what is the best way to stay young? Is it by eating healthy foods? Is it by exercising? Is it by living a healthy lifestyle? And the answer really is in all 3, but the best way by far is really for you to remain insulin sensitive. Insulin is a hormone that your body secretes, and it is an anti-catabolic hormone. What that means is it activates, or it helps to trigger, the body's growth pathways. And studies show that the more of these growth pathways you activate, the faster you're going to age. And this is because cells have a very finite rate of division. They can only divide around 50 or 60 times before they become senescent and die. And when you have a lot of these senescent cells or dead cells, then this actually increases aging. This actually accelerates the aging process. So you want to slow this down as much as possible. And insulin is one of the main drivers of this growth process. You don't want to stop insulin altogether. You need some growth in order to maintain muscle, bone, and healthy tissue. But the key is to be able to balance so that you are growing with regards to fat-free mass, but you're not growing enough that you're growing your adipose tissue or your fat cells all the time, because this is what accelerates the aging process. Okay, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, what drives insulin? For most of the population, the main driver of insulin is actually the consumption of refined sugars and processed foods. Okay, so let me tell you how this works. Whenever you take in sugar, and when I say sugar, I'm not talking about just the white powdery stuff that you put on your donuts or your coffee or your sweetened beverage, right? I'm talking about carbohydrates, because essentially all carbohydrates are sugar. When you consume sugar, your pancreas releases this hormone called insulin in order to grab those circulating sugars and ideally put them in your muscles and your liver, where they can be stored to perform work. They can be converted into energy. Now, the problem is when you eat too much of these sugars, the body will not be able to utilize them immediately, so it converts it into fat, and it's stored in adipose tissue. That's why you get fat. I want you to understand that sugars are plants. That is how plants store their energy and their form, in carbon-carbon, carbon-hydrogen bonds. And these are essentially what is converted into sugar when it enters our bloodstream. What is important to understand here is that when sugar comes from nature, as in fruits, starchy vegetables like potatoes, legumes, and green leafy vegetables, any plant is a carbohydrate. When they are consumed but packaged by nature, or consumed the way nature intended, the sugars contained are very small, and they come packaged with fiber, and fiber helps to mitigate the release of sugar in our body. In other words, the fiber slows down the release of the sugar. But when you're consuming processed sugars and processed foods, these carbohydrates are refined in such a way that they pack a lot of sugar and have none or almost none of the fibers that come when you're eating whole foods. This means that all the sugar is dumped directly into your bloodstream, and your body has to respond by releasing massive amounts of insulin. And never before in our history has the body been forced to produce this much insulin at any given time. than when processed foods were developed some 100 years ago. Okay, now, what are the two ways where you can actually remove or reduce the sugar? Number one, obviously, is by removing the consumption of processed foods, right? So if you can cut that immediately, cut all your processed foods, cut all your refined sugars, you're already way ahead of 80% or 90% of the population. Another way is to allow your muscles to take in the sugar. You see, muscles have the ability to take in sugar independent of insulin. But this can only happen when the sugar stores in the muscle, called glycogen, are already depleted. So when you move, you're actually using up the stored sugar, allowing more sugar from the outside to come into your muscles. And this is why movement is extremely critical. There can be no optimum health without it. So before we move on to these exercises, I want you to keep three things in mind. Number one, I want you to perform these exercises in 3 separate installments. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned that it only takes 12 minutes to do, and that is true. And I want you to break down these 12 minutes into 3 sessions of 4 minutes each after each meal. And there are a couple of reasons for this. Number one is I want to be able to empty the glycogen in your muscles after each meal so that you can take in the added sugars that you're going to be consuming. And number two is that it takes the body around 2 to 3 hours to replenish nitric oxide. And nitric oxide, as you're going to learn later on, is going to be very, very important in helping you remove the sugars from your body. The second thing to remember is that these exercises should be performed high intensity interval training style, or HIIT. So this means that all the movements have to be explosive and done as fast as possible, but they have to be done in a controlled fashion. So do them as fast as you can, but with control. Okay, the third thing I need you to keep in mind as you're performing these exercises is to breathe only through your nose. Avoid breathing through your mouth as much as possible. If you can, breathe only through your nose. Why? There are a couple of reasons. Number one, it has been shown that the less oxygen you are consuming or you're taking in, the greater the uptake of sugar into your muscles. So by breathing only through your nose, we're trying to simulate hypoxia. And the second reason is we're trying to maximize the amount of nitric oxide we are dumping into your body. We talked about nitric oxide earlier. It is a natural gas that you form, and it is located in the endothelium, or the inner lining of your arteries. Nitric oxide has proven to be a very effective vasodilator. What this means is that it helps relax blood vessels, helping you to pump blood more efficiently. It also reduces platelet aggregation, which means your blood has less tendency to clot. And thirdly, it has been shown to have an anabolic effect. So it helps your muscles grow. So remember, when you're performing these exercises, breathe only through your nose. So I'm basically going to be giving you 4 movements, and you're going to be doing each movement 20 times. No rest in between. And one whole cycle is 1 set. I want you to do 3 to 4 sets of these movements and then stop. Wait another couple of hours at least for your next meal before doing them again. Don't let the simplicity of these movements fool you, because I don't care how fit and active and healthy you are. If you do them properly, you're going to be catching your breath at the end of each session. So, here are the 4 movements. So the first movement is your basic squat. If you've never done a squat before, think of it as just sitting down while you are extending your arms in front of you. So attempt a deep squat where you're trying to sit down, and at the same time, you extend your arms in front of you, like so. Okay, I'm going to repeat that for you again. It's done like this. Now, what are the things to keep in mind? Remember, we're trying to activate muscle contraction so that you're going to deplete muscle glycogen. And what needs to happen is that when you perform the movements, you have to feel maximum contraction not only in your buttocks and your legs, but when you raise your arms, try to tense the muscles on your shoulders, your biceps, and your arms as well. And all the while keep the core engaged. I know it's very, very difficult to see this through the video, but the way I would do it is when I would perform the squat, when I would attempt to sit down, I make sure in my mind that all the muscles in my body are firing, from my glutes, my legs, my hamstrings, my calves, to my core, and my arms. This is what I mean when I say if you do it right, it's actually very, very tiring, even if you don't have any weights, even if you're not using any weights. You can use weights though. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do 20 together. So do it with me, and we go. As explosive but controlled as possible. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. Whew. Another way to make this movement more challenging is to do a jump squat. So you basically perform the same movement, but instead of just going up, you actually jump. So on your way down, you put your arms back and then jump like so. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. Or to make it more challenging, you can actually use light dumbbells. All right, so that first movement was for the legs. Now we're going to do something for the chest, and it is called the chest press. All you need to do is put your palms together like so, but I want you to squeeze, and you're going to feel your chest muscles contracting, right? So here you go. Squeeze. You can see the shoulders contracting, you can see the chest muscles contracting, and this is what you want. And what you're going to do is you're going to raise your arms in front of you 20 times, like so. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, so as you advance, and if you want to make that movement more challenging, then what you can do is you can pick up a couple of dumbbells and you can perform the movement using the dumbbells. Now, it's important to understand that you still have to squeeze the dumbbells together this way. You have to be pressing the dumbbells together in order to activate your chest. So the way you'd be doing that is this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the next exercise will be similar to a jumping jack, but you're not going to be jumping. You're actually going to be activating only your arms. And the way this is performed is by raising your arms laterally in order for them to meet over your head and then bringing them back down again. All the while keeping the shoulders, your deltoids, fully contracted, as well as your back, the rhomboids. You won't be able to see them. But this is actually done for the back and the shoulders, like so, right? So the way we're going to do them is this. Very, very hit style, and so again, very fast, very explosive, but very controlled. Are you ready? Do this with me. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. So if you did that correctly, you should be feeling tension on your traps and your deltoids and your back. Again, if you are already advanced and you've been doing this for quite a while, you can move on to using dumbbells, doing the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. It is not as easy as it looks. So the last movement is a shoulder press. You're basically going to be simulating pressing something over your head. Your palms can be either open or your fists could be closed. But what is important is that your deltoids, your shoulder muscles, are fully contracted when you're doing the motion. So this is how it's done. It's done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Whew. Again, this is what they would look like when done with dumbbells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So if you've been doing these movements with me, I'm pretty sure that you're going to be winded after doing all 4 movements without any rest. Here's the kicker. I need you to do this 3 to 4 times without any rest. This will take anywhere between 3 to 4 minutes, and that is going to basically be your first rotation for the day. If you are a beginner, you can actually start with 1 or 2 sets after every meal. But remember, do the exercises, do the movements in a continuous fashion. Don't rest in between. You can only rest after you finish 2, 3, or 4 sets. It is important to pace yourself. Don't push yourself. The strength, the endurance, everything will come naturally, but you have to start somewhere, right? So the beauty of these movements is that regardless of your age, regardless of your level of physical fitness, anybody can do these movements because you don't require any equipment, and basically you can go as fast or as slow as you are comfortable with, right? So just to recap, you're going to be doing all 4 movements 20 reps a piece non-stop. So the way I would do it would be after breakfast, I would immediately go and do 20 squats, 20 chest presses, 20 lateral raises, and 20 presses. And then without stopping, I'm going to be doing them again, right? So this will go on for 3 to 4 sets. So there you have it, the best exercise in order to keep fit and young. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell so you're going to be notified every time a new video comes out. Also, if you haven't already, please check out our 360 anti-aging program where we combine nutrition, lifestyle modifications, and cutting-edge lasers to make you younger inside and out. You can visit our website at www.lumiereskinandspa.com or check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram, Lumiere Skin and Spa. As I always say, if you're not aging deliberately, chances are you're not aging well. Until next time, this has been Mike Chan, to your looks and good health. Branch anti-aging and laser clinic called Lumiere Skin and Spa. I'm also a certified medical and laser esthetician, and I'm trained with some of the best practitioners both here and abroad. So I'm very, very familiar with what lasers can and cannot do.